Nothing interesting I had to say. What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome back to another video, Axe Entertainment. I'm your host, Zach Axe, and today I bring you the Saturday Night Main Event ranking and review. Now, this show from start to finish was very boring overall. I had the luxury of being a little bit later to watching it, so I was able to skip through the commercials, and that seems like this was 90% commercials and 10% action. And overall, the pay-per-view wasn't the best, but I'm going to tell you what I did like, what I didn't like from each match. Let's get right into it with number 5. At number 5, we have a match that I was actually kind of excited for because just of the story to tell, more of the in-ring action, and that was R-Truth versus John Cena. Now, R-Truth and John Cena were never going to put on a 5-star classic. This was never going to be, some phenomenal match. But at the same time, I thought it was going to be fun, and that's what I was really hoping for, was just that it was going to be a fun encounter more than a match. And instead, it just didn't deliver at all. It was very short. Title wasn't even on the line, so that took a lot of the intrigue out of it right away. I mean, I know R-Truth hasn't done anything to earn a title shot, but it would have at least made it a little bit more interesting if it was. And then we just kind of had the John Cena, shoulder tackle, whatever, 5-knuckle shuffle, reversed into R-Truth doing the shoulder tackle, 5-knuckle shuffle, AA. And then after that, Cena went right into the heel tactics, low blow truth, AA for the win. And this match just, from start to finish, was very slow, very boring. The only interesting part of this whole entire match was R-Truth coming out with John Cena's theme song. That was right after the entrance. It got boring from there. And this match had to come in at number 5 just because it was very, very boring. Coming in at number 4, I have a match that I thought was going to be higher up on this list, and that is CM Punk and Sami Zayn taking on Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. And the only reason this match is as low as it is on the rankings is simply because it was way too short. And I get it, it's a 2-hour pay-per-view, you have 5 matches. But truthfully, you could have honestly left off, what was the match that was just added? Chelsea Green and Zelina Vega, because that match I feel like was only added for the sake of adding a women's match. And I think you could have just left that match off, had the 4 matches, given them each, 20 minutes to play with, and then, it could have been more interesting. But this match just under-delivered for so many different reasons, and just Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins got very, very little offense. Neither of them looked like the killing machine that they should have been. Braun Breaker's supposed to be this big bad, destruction-causing dude, and he caused no destruction in that match. And Seth Rollins only had a couple moves in the entire match. And then Sami and Punk had a lot of the offense, but there were so many, I feel like, stories that were kind of weaved into this match, and none of them really came to fruition. You had the story of, can Sami and Punk trust each other? That never got capitalized on at all during the match. And it felt like a very, very generic tag team match. And honestly, as much chemistry as these guys should have together, it felt like there was no chemistry there. And I know it's not a PLE, it's not a, Raw episode, it's just a, I don't even know what you even call that, a special event, a glorified house show. But this match between 4 of the, top competitors on Monday Night Raw just really under-delivered for me. Oh, I was about to end without even talking about the return of Bronson Reed, which is the only thing. There's only 3 things that anyone's going to take away from Saturday Night Main Event, and one of them is going to be that Bronson Reed has joined the team of Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins. This is interesting. I'm excited to see where this goes. Bronson Reed is a guy that can easily be in the main event, but hasn't been given the, main event rub yet. So now, being in the group with Rollins and Breaker, I'm hoping he eventually, does get into the top of the card. And that's going to be one of the only things that people talks about coming out of this match. No one's going to talk about the match itself. Everyone's going to talk about the return and subsequent joining of the team with Bronson Reed. And that's okay, because I feel like that's all this match needs to be remembered for at this point. At number 3, I have a match that was added last second into Saturday Night Main Event, and that is the U.S. Women's title match between Chelsea Green, the former champion, and Zelina Vega, the current champion. This match, definitely I had no excitement for because we've seen it multiple times. The same winner has happened every time, so there's really nothing different that was going to come out of this match. I mean, hell, the Secret Hervis like did nothing in this match. I can't even remember if they were at ringside. That's how little they did in this match, and there was just no interesting dynamic between these two. But the match itself delivered more than the other ones. In ring more than the other ones. There was a couple sick moments like the top rope code red to finish off the match. That was a very cool move. We also had the 619. The worst 619 you'll ever see from any competitor in the history of WWE. Zelina Vega completely missed it, didn't hit her at all, and then just kind of clocked her when she landed on the apron, and that busted open Chelsea Green. So Chelsea Green ended up bleeding from the nose after that one. And like I said with the tag team match, Bronson Reed's the only thing you're going to talk about coming out of that match. The only thing people are going to talk about coming out of this match is the fact that that 619 was a botch, and then she got busted open with the kick afterwards. So I feel like this match could have been left off to maybe amplify the other ones because we've seen this match before, but it did what it had to do, and it was a pretty entertaining match. Coming in at number 2, we have Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest inside of a steel cage. Now, this match, I didn't want to see Drew versus Damian Priest again in the first place. So coming into this match, I was already not that excited because, you know, we had the WrestleMania match that should have ended their feud right there, and then we continued it onto Backlash with the Fatal 4-Way for the U.S. title, and now come Saturday night main event, we're finishing it inside of a steel cage, which at least there's a different stipulation in this match, and you know it's not just a plain old match that would have just been boring to sit there. There was a steel cage stipulation. And they definitely had some big spots. You know, they had the callback to the Claymore that ended Damian Priest at the WrestleMania, in the WrestleMania match. We had the South of Heaven being delivered by Drew McIntyre, a Claymore being delivered pretty much by Damian Priest. Wow, my brain's just blanking right now. But overall, for a steel cage match, there wasn't a lot of crazy spots. There was the suplex. The suplex kind of like Punk and Rollins did, where one guy's kind of already hanging down and the other guy's on the ropes. It's just a regular superplex. It just kind of has the added factor of they're already up a little bit higher because of the steel cage. But at the end of the day, it's a regular superplex. You're taking the bump from the same height. So there wasn't a lot of big spots for a steel cage. They didn't really even use the steel cage that often in this match. And I think it was just an added stipulation for adding a stipulation. And then what everyone's going to talk about for this match, because there is like one thing in every single match that people are going to end up talking about more than the actual match, and this one it's going to be Jesse Ventura on commentary, who was pissing me off. Oh my god, he was so Jesse Ventura is very annoying on commentary. I'm okay with him being the host, but when it comes to commentary, Jesus Christ, first of all, the whole time he's just like, everything they do he's belittling, which I get, he's an old school guy, but this whole match, if you didn't go for the pin immediately, you got belittled. If you didn't, do the old school wrestling stuff, you got belittled. And then he didn't even know how a steel cage match works. He didn't know the rules of a steel cage match. He's sitting here calling Damian Priest names because he walked out of the door. And he didn't even know you could win by getting out of the cage. That's insane for a legend of the industry. And I love Jesse Ventura, don't get me wrong. But that's insane to not know how you win a steel cage match. Like, really? So Damian Priest walked out and he's calling Damian Priest names, and he just, overall, I think Jesse Ventura took a match that was already not the best and made it even worse with his commentary. So let's keep Jesse Ventura off of commentary heading forward. I know he's kind of the guy you want to bring back for all the Saturday Night main events, but let's keep him as a host, keep him off of commentary, and next time, like I said, just don't let him near that table. But then the match ends with a concerto to Drew McIntyre by Damian Priest, the move that took out Edge back when the Judgment Day were feuding. And the only thing I don't like is now that Drew has a win and Damian has a win, it feels like this feud is going to continue. At the same time, though, Drew might be leaving for injury purposes, so maybe when he comes back, I'm sure we're going to see one more match just to get, a definitive winner in this feud. But I don't want to see this match again. I know a lot of people don't want to see this match again. A lot of people didn't want to see this match in the first place. So if this leads into another match, hopefully it's not for a while and we can see these guys do some different stuff that's not against each other. And the number one spot for a show that was pretty much a glorified house show, the only match that actually felt important was Jey Uso versus Logan Paul. And they actually elevated the match a little bit with some backstage interaction between Jey Uso and John Cena, with John Cena saying that one of the things that would help ruin professional wrestling would be to have a YouTuber like Logan Paul hold the World Heavyweight Championship. So after he leaves with the WWE Championship, so we saw John Cena interfere later on in the match. But before that even happened, we had some pretty good wrestling from Logan Paul and Jey Uso. You know, it was kind of your standard Jey Uso or Logan Paul match for most of it. You know, just the typical offense, the typical handsprings, the super kicks, everything. There was a really cool spot that I actually predicted when this feud started. I said I wanted to see a buckshot lariat into a super kick, and they actually did. They did a buckshot lariat into a super kick, and that was the spot of the night. Definitely, that was the coolest moment of the night, was that reversal. But then we had John Cena come out near the end of the match and just start beating down Jey Uso, trying to, you know, make sure Jey Uso lost the title so that he could help ruin professional wrestling. But then we had the return of the guy we haven't seen since WrestleMania, and Cody Rhodes, who was just on a roller coaster in a full suit about a week ago. He comes back to help Jey Uso, his former tag team champion partner, and this is going to lead into a tag team match that I couldn't have predicted in 10 years between John Cena, Logan Paul taking on Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes. That match is going to be something. I think it's good that John Cena is getting a tag team match in here, a big time tag team match, because John Cena definitely is having trouble carrying matches on his own at his age, and I think Logan Paul is definitely a great person to put on his team, because Logan Paul can definitely carry that match for him, while John Cena is there for the added star power. And you know, you have the two biggest champions fighting each other, which we saw at Crown Jewel last year with Gunther and Cody Rhodes. And now we have the World Heavyweight Champion teaming up with a former Universal Champion, or former World Heavyweight, oh my god, I can't speak, with a former WWE Champion to take on the current WWE Champion. And then Logan Paul just kind of seems like the odd one out, because he really doesn't have a feud like linking him here. Like, obviously Cody is linked with John Cena, and then now you kind of have the John Cena feud with Uso. But that Uso Logan Paul feud always felt like it was just going to end in one match, and that match should have been here at Saturday Night Main Event. But now it looks like Logan Paul is going to get propelled into, you know, staying in the main event, because he's going to be teaming with Cena to take on Cody and Jey at Money in the Bank, which I guess you should have seen coming, because Jey Uso wasn't going to defend the title at Money in the Bank, since we already know his next challenger is Gunther, and he's going to be fighting after Money in the Bank. So at the end of the day, this show was just not the best. But like I said, it's a glorified house show, so take everything I said here with a grain of salt. None of it was ever going to be the best, and if you enjoyed it, that's great. But overall, like I said, it was just kind of a downer of a pay-per-view, or a downer of a house show, I guess I should say. But when it is broadcast to the world, you think they put a little bit more effort, which they did. You can definitely tell they put some effort into it, just not as much as I would have liked them to. But if you did enjoy this video, hopefully I made it shorter for you guys, so you guys don't have to sit through another 30-minute video. Hopefully this is probably going to be like a 15-minute video after I get done editing it. If you have any different takes, if you thought any matches were really good and I'm sitting here crapping on them, or if you thought any matches were really bad and I gave them praise, let me know in the comments. Tell me your ranking of the 5 matches that you saw, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.
This happened if I had real tough love, I'm bad at this, and I'm bad for this.
Narcissistic tendencies, I don't care about no one else. Narcissistic tendencies, I'm low, so set me on the shelf. Few people ever have my back, yeah, there ain't no doubt about that.